Hello, and welcome to Zap the Gender Pay Gap, the podcast series where we expose the elephant in the room. The elephant's name, the gender pay gap. I am coming to you from Memphis, Tennessee, located on the banks of the mighty Mississippi River. Nestled in the southwest corner of the state, Memphis is home to the blues, barbecue, and so much more. I am your host, Gwendolyn Tucker. Thank you so very much for joining me for this episode of Zap the Gender Pay Gap. I am your host, Gwendolyn Tucker. I created this podcast series to do three things. One, to expose the elephant in the room, to make it visible by uncovering it and revealing its true nature. Two, to disclose some pertinent facts that may have been previously unknown to you. And then thirdly, to determine how do we get rid of and do away with this elephant and dispose of the effects of it. Now, in last week's episode, I exposed the elephant in the room. Do you remember the elephant's name? Yes, the gender pay gap. Now, what exactly is the gender pay gap? It is also known as the gender wage gap. Simply put, it represents the average difference between what a female earns compared to males in the workplace. Women in the workplace are generally paid less than men. Now, I have been involved in diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives in some form or fashion my entire career. Quite a bit of energy has been focused on diversity and inclusion. Diversity is about getting women and people of color visible in the organization. And inclusion is about getting women and people of color, giving them a voice so that not only do they have a seat at the table, but they also have a say at the table. That's diversity and inclusion. Now, not as much energy has been focused on equity. We have been pretty busy getting women and people of color visible and a voice, giving them a voice, that we've neglected this piece around equity, especially pay equity, which is an expression of value. Now, the more I researched this issue around the gender pay gap, the more alarmed I became about the fact that women consistently earn less than their male counterparts. Much about this has been kept in the dark about the gender pay gap. Therefore, I will shine a light on this elephant in the room. Now, you may be asking, why do I call it the elephant in the room? Well, I'll go to Merriam-Webster's dictionary. And basically, it says that the elephant in the room refers to an obvious major problem or issue that people avoid discussing or acknowledging. And as I share with you some of these facts about this elephant in the room, I believe that you will agree with me that it is a major problem, and we need to acknowledge and shed some light on this elephant in the room. Now, I'm not sure about you, but I love watching reruns of Dragnet. It started as a radio show in 1949 and became a TV series in 1951. Jack Webb starred as Sergeant Joe Friday, badge number 714, and he made these phrases famous. All we want are the facts, ma'am. All we know are the facts, ma'am. Now, in 1987, Dan Aykroyd and Tom Hanks starred in a movie, and they made a version of these phrases famous. And they said, just the facts, ma'am, just the facts. So today, I will be sharing with you 5 alarming facts about the gender pay gap. Number 1 is that the female to male earnings ratio is 82%. Number 2, the pay gap varies by age. Number 3, the gender pay gap is larger for women of color. Number 4, the gender pay gap varies by state. And then number 5, the gender pay gap varies widely by occupation. Now, as with any elephant, especially one that's so huge, you have to take a panoramic picture to get the full view. And so of these 5 alarming facts, with number 1 being that the female to male earnings ratio, it is 82%. Now, that's just the inversion or just the counterpart to the gender pay gap, which means that if the female to male earnings ratio is 82%, the gap is what? Yes, 18%. Now, that's just the tip of the iceberg that we see. Let's take a deeper dive to see what's below the surface. In essence, this means that females have to work 42 days longer to earn what their male counterparts earn. Now, the National Committee on Pay Equity has identified Tuesday, March 14th of 2023 as Equal Pay Day. Now, this date symbolizes how far into the year women must work to earn what men earned in the previous year. The National Committee on Pay Equity is also encouraging women to wear red on Equal Pay Day because it symbolizes how far women and minorities are in the red with their pay. This is an alarming fact in and of itself. Now, if you are a female leader in the workplace, you may think, hey, the elephant doesn't affect me, but that's not true. Can you guess what the female to male earnings ratio is for female leaders? It is 90%, which means the gap is 10%. Now, that's better than 82%, but it is still not 100%. Fact number 2, the pay gap varies by age. The female to male earnings ratio is the highest at earlier ages. Women aged 20 to 24, their female to male earnings ratio is 93.5%. But as women grow older and mature in the workplace, that number goes down to 89.5%, 81.2%, 77.5%. So it decreases as women age based on age in the workplace. Number 3, the pay gap is larger for women of color. The female to male earnings ratio for Black or African American women is 79%. And for Native American and Pacific Islanders, it's 71%. Now, I have a degree in accounting and earned my designation as a certified public accountant after starting my career in paper manufacturing. But you don't have to be an accountant to know that these numbers are definitely trending in the wrong direction. You can see why I call them alarming facts. And number 4, the gender pay gap varies widely by state. Now, I'm coming to you from Memphis, Tennessee, located on the banks of the mighty Mississippi River. Nestled in the southwest corner of the state, Memphis is home to the blues, barbecue, and so much more. Now, there's a study done by the America's Gender Pay Gap by State, and Tennessee's female to male earnings ratio is 79%. Now, I relocated here from Ohio, where the ratio is the same at 79%. So Tennessee and Ohio, at this survey shares that the female to male earnings ratio is 79%. But now I grew up in the panhandle of Florida. And can you guess what the ratio is there? It is actually a little bit higher. It is at 85%. So what does all of this mean? It means that the state in which you reside can greatly affect the size of your gender pay gap. And fact number 5, the gender pay gap varies widely by occupation. Now, as I began to do my research, I, of course, used some of my own occupations. So I started my career in paper manufacturing and cost accounting. And it just happened to be one of my favorite classes. Can you imagine that? I get my first job out of college just in an occupation from a course that I loved in college, which was cost accounting. So naturally, I conducted my research and I looked first at ratios for accountants, Then I looked at auditors because I was an internal auditor for a paper manufacturing company. And then I looked at financial managers, and I could not believe what I saw. Now, keep in mind that this is across all industries, but let's do a drum roll. Guess what the female to male earnings ratio is for accountants and auditors? It is 78%. And for financial managers, it is 66.1%. Now, you can find the gender pay gap and what the female to male earnings ratio is for your occupation, but for these, this was so alarming. Now, remember I said, or recall in the Dragnet series where it says, just the facts, ma'am, just the facts. All I want is the facts. So today, I have disclosed some pertinent facts about that elephant in the room whose name is the gender pay gap. It is a fact that women in the workplace earn on average 82% of what men earn. The pay gap varies by age, it's larger for women of color, and it varies by state as well as by occupation. Now, as I've mentioned, I've disclosed quite a few facts to you today, and your mind might be reeling. I hope not, but I do hope that this was very informative to you and revealed some facts about this elephant in the room and the impact that it has on women in the workplace. Now, in the next episode, I will disclose the #1 challenge women face in the workplace and discuss some potential ways to fix it. Please join me next Wednesday at noon Central Standard Time. I look forward to seeing you there. Rate, review, and subscribe to or follow me wherever you get your favorite podcast. I am your host, Gwendolyn Tucker. Thanks so much for listening. See you next time.